Hi, this is my review of Mutant Bestiary One. Mutant Bestiary One is a bestiary for the Mutant Epoch RPG. The Mutant Epoch RPG is probably my favorite post-apocalyptic RPG because it combines a lot of old-school elements like random tables and a lot of lethality with a great variety of tactics and strategies that you can use on when you are fighting or when you are exploring or using different skills. It's a very good game, and William McCausland, the game designer, is constantly bringing out free content or pay what you want content, so you have a lot of resources to create all sorts of adventures. You have free monsters and all sorts of rules that are even rated R because some of them are sexual in content. So it's a very complete game, and I don't know, the amount of effort that William McCausland puts into creating content all the time is impressive. Now let's talk about the quality of this PDF. The quality is pretty good. It has great organization and amazing illustrations, a lot of them very nightmarish but very appropriate for the setting. And you even have some tables so you can generate random encounters according to terrain, or maybe your characters are exploring ruins. And because the tables are kind of divided by categories, it's pretty easy to create an adventure based on random encounters. However, I think the PDF could have used some bookmarks because it's a bit hard to navigate through the entire document by going back to the table of contents and then going to the page where you can find the beast that you want to use and then going back to the table of contents. It's a bit cumbersome. Well, let's talk about the contents of the PDF. Well, you have a very nice selection of monsters. Most of them are beasts, and they seem like normal animals at first, but they have their own mutation twist of sorts, sometimes very literally. So for example, let's look at the armadillo. The armadillo has there are three types of armadillo, and one not so lethal type, and the other types are pretty gruesome and quite violent. But you have a list of mutations that you can use to further customize these armadillos. So for example, maybe this armadillo has a very thick shell, almost like a tank, or maybe the armadillo has 2 heads, or maybe 6 legs and therefore moves faster in combat or when it normally moves from one place to another. Or maybe you have like spikes or a spiked tail, or maybe the armadillo spits acid. So those are the kinds of mutations you're going to find in almost all the entries in this bestiary. Not all of the creatures have a list of mutations that you can use to customize a particular creature, but a lot of them do, and this adds a lot of value to the document, because then you can use a single kind of creature several times, and that same creature is going to attack and act differently because of its mutations and variations. That's pretty useful. So let's take a look at some of the creatures. You have battle apes, and not only you have a good list of mutations for these apes, you also have a list of cybernetic implants to add weaponry and plating and even force fields. And some of the mutations are quite weird. Some of them have like a mental screen that nullifies mental assaults or like psychic attacks. So that's pretty cool. You also have different types of cats. And this is the Mutant Epoch, so you're not going to have just like a kitty cat or a normal jungle cat. You're going to have creatures that could tear apart an entire party of adventurers, or excavators as they are called in this game. You also have crustaceans with really thick shells and very lethal and dangerous looking pincers. You also have deer. Watch out for those antlers. You have different types of dogs. The cool thing about dogs in the Mutant Epoch is that if your character is skilled enough, you may even have a mutant dog to serve as a mount, because they are quite big. Some of them are bigger than a horse. You also have different types of goats. There's even a goat called the Lucifer goat. So they're quite dangerous. And then you have a good variety of insects. And wow, some of them are quite, I don't know, like really bizarre. And they're pretty useful for all sorts of nightmare situations, and to ambush the characters as they are trying to move through maybe perhaps a junkyard, and then suddenly get attacked by these horrible beasts and insects. You also have pigs. Some pigs are quite violent and very lethal in their charge attacks. Some of them look like humanoid pigs and are pretty good. For example, you want to overwhelm the player characters. And because the Mutant Epoch has a lot of potential when it comes to weaponry, because you have primitive weaponry and very advanced weaponry, such as, for example, maybe laser rifles or bazookas. So you're going to see maybe you could arm these big humanoids with those kinds of weapons to present different challenges. You also have raccoons, and you have sheep. You also have some more bizarre enemies, like for example the tall clipper. You really can't categorize that creature as maybe it looks like this sort of insect or that other kind of insect, because it's like a very weird hybrid. You have some other weirder creatures. So for example the Agoda, even although it looks like an insect in appearance, it has so many other features that make it like sort of like a war machine on its own. It's very dangerous, and only the strongest, the better equipped parties with most experience is going to be able to fight against this thing. Wow. And as you can see, there are just a lot of weird looking creatures. You have the Dhammagoth, looks quite bizarre and even a bit gonzo with that tentacle growing out of its head and that giant maw. And then you have things like the Krenth, that could fall into the category of some other, like a beast creature, but the list of mutations and its reactions toward the different humanoids it may encounter makes it like a separate category from that. Well, overall, let me tell you what I think about this bestiary. I think it's pretty good. Some of the mutations do feel a bit sameish. That is, you're going to find a lot of poisonous mutations and thicker shell mutations and whatnot. So that could feel a bit repetitive, but it all depends on the way you build a specific type of mutant creature. So it's up to the game master when you start seeing like a trend that, oh no, all my creatures are having poisonous attacks, that could be a bit repetitive, but at the same time it could color your adventure. Maybe the place where the characters are exploring is quite toxic, and therefore all the mutants there develop that sort of like poisonous attacks. I also think that this bestiary is useful even if you don't play the Mutant Epoch. This could be useful for other games, for other post-apocalyptic games, if you have a favorite one, or maybe even science fiction games and science fantasy games, such as, for example, Metamorphosis Alpha. You're going to get a lot of ways to generate random enemies, and you're going to find a lot of ideas to create for your own player characters in those games. It's very easy to borrow some of the elements here and add them if you want to play as a player character with some of the mutations in this book. It's very easy to integrate that into your system of creating a character. So I highly recommend this bestiary. But to be honest, the core book has a lot of creatures, so you may feel a bit overwhelmed with the amount of things that you can use, but well, it's better to have a good variety of creatures to choose from than to have none at all. So I highly recommend this book. However, it could have been better if it had bookmarks. Well, thanks for watching my review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. See you later.